All right, just picture this for a second. A woman, dressed in silk, holding a tiny child wrapped in wool. And they're standing in this just merciless wasteland of snow and ice. This is the moment a choice is made, and it's where our entire story kicks off. So today, we're unpacking the mercy of Mount Carvax. And let me tell you, this is one brutal, brilliant story about the long, cold wait for vengeance. I mean, it is seriously a masterclass in patient plotting and what it really costs to get even. You know, every great revenge story has to start with a great crime, right? Well, this is it. This is the decision that kicks off an entire 15-year plan. So here's the impossible choice Lady Mira is facing. On one hand, you've got a marriage to the super powerful Lord Castor. I mean, this is her direct path to becoming queen. But on the other hand, she has her 3-year-old daughter, Sera. And the price for that crown, well, Castor made it crystal clear. He is not going to raise another man's child. So right there on that mountain, Mira makes a deal with herself and maybe with the devil. And what's so chilling here is the lack of emotion. I mean, sure, she whispers, "Forgive me," but the narrative makes it really clear there's no actual remorse in her voice. This isn't some tragic moment of weakness. No, this is a cold, hard, calculated transaction. She leaves her own child to die for a throne. And that single act, it's the seed that everything else grows from. Okay, so let's fast forward 15 years. An entire decade and a half goes by. And now we get to see the consequences of that choice. But it's not the consequence Mira expected, the death of her child. Instead, it's the birth of a singular, all-consuming purpose. And this timeline, man, it just perfectly lays out the long game. So the child, Sera, she's found by a shepherd named Gregor. She survives against all odds. She trains, she learns, she gets strong. Then, at 13, bam, she finds out the truth. Her mother is now Queen Mira. And for the next 5 years, every single second of her life is dedicated to just one thing: revenge. And this is the moment. This is where she truly becomes the architect of her own destiny. Gregor, the man who saved her, he warns her, hatred will consume you. It'll eat you up from the inside. But her reply, it's absolutely chilling. She doesn't fight it. She doesn't deny the hatred. She decides to use it, to weaponize it. She literally transforms her pain from a poison that would kill her into the fuel that will drive her. All right, so her purpose has been forged in ice, right? Now, the next phase of the plan begins. It is time for the abandoned child, who now calls herself Elara, by the way, to walk right into the palace. But she's not going in as a victim. Oh no, she's going in as a predator, just waiting for her moment. So how in the world does she get close to the most powerful woman in the kingdom? Well, it's all about being methodical. Elara joins this big royal competition and she just crushes it. I mean, she's a master of languages. She solves these impossible puzzles. She knows everything about statecraft. But here's the thing. It's all an act, built on years of brutal training. She makes herself the perfect candidate, the one the queen can't possibly ignore. So once she's in, Elara quickly makes herself completely indispensable. But all the while, she's looking for something. And then she finds it, the jackpot, the queen's private journal. And it spills everything. It's all right there in black and white. Mira's part in the first queen's death. And, this is the crucial part, her constant lingering guilt over the child she abandoned on that mountain. And this is just the central irony of Mira's entire life, isn't it? She got the crown, she got the power, she got everything she sacrificed her daughter for. But peace of mind? Nope, never found it. The ghost of that child she left behind literally haunts her dreams. And that price she paid for her ambition, it just gets heavier and heavier, year after year, all while her daughter is getting closer and closer. Okay, and here we go. This is the climax. The king is dead, the whole court is in chaos, and Queen Mira's enemies are circling like sharks. This is the exact moment Elara has spent 15 long years preparing for. Now, what's so brilliant about this is that Elara doesn't just stand back and watch the queen fall. She saves her. Using this secret network she's been building for years, she just dismantles every single plot against Mira. She crushes her enemies, secures her throne. She makes herself the one and only pillar holding up the queen's power. She makes Mira absolutely 100% dependent on her. And then Mira says it. It's probably the most ironic, most devastating line in the entire story. In her moment of total relief, she looks at Elara, the woman who just saved her, who is secretly the child she left to die, and she says she's like a daughter to her. And just like that, the trap is perfectly set. And now Elara springs it. She uses the queen's own paranoia, her deepest, darkest secret, as the final move. She doesn't frame it as a confession. No, she frames it as a warning about one final threat. You can just imagine the ice forming in Mira's veins when she hears those words. Mira has to be thinking, how could she possibly know? And then Elara drops the one word that shatters 15 years of lies, of power, of deception. Just one single word that flips the entire power dynamic in that room completely upside down. Of course, Mira denies it. She's screaming it's impossible, that the child died on that mountain. But Elara's response is so simple, so calm, and just utterly terrifying. In that one moment, Queen Mira is gone. She's just Lady Mira again, a woman finally facing the consequences of a crime she was so sure was buried under 15 years of snow. Okay, so the truth is out. The vengeance has been revealed. But what does it actually look like? What happens now? This final act really gets into some haunting questions about what justice even is and what's left after your life's mission is finally over. So, Elara's judgment, it's not a quick death in some dark dungeon. Oh no, it's something way more poetic and honestly way more cruel. She promises to give her mother the exact same mercy that she was given as a 3-year-old kid. I mean, look at the perfect, terrible symmetry of this revenge. She takes Mira back to the exact same spot on Mount Carvax, puts her in thin robes, and just leaves her. Her fate is now totally up to the mountain, up to chance, up to her own will to survive. It is a perfect, cruel echo of the original crime from all those years ago. And as Elara walks back down that mountain, Gregor is there waiting for her. And he doesn't ask, did you do it, or was it worth it? He asks a much, much deeper question, one that's really at the heart of every revenge story ever told. After all that planning, all that pain, do you feel better? And the answer is that she doesn't. The story just refuses to give us that simple, satisfying feeling. You know, that expected triumph, that joy, that release. It's just not there. Instead, all she feels is this emptiness, this hollow feeling. Her entire life's purpose is done. And now, for the first time ever, she's completely adrift. And that brings us right to the core theme, doesn't it? What Elara did, was that justice? Or was it revenge? You know, we think of justice as being impartial, about restoring balance. But revenge, that's personal. It's about inflicting pain. Elara's actions are right on the razor's edge between the two, and it forces you to ask, where does one even end and the other begin? And that's really the final heavy thought this story leaves us with. Elara says her next step is to figure out who she is now, without the vengeance. But that question just hangs there, you know? After a life that was defined by one single all-consuming goal, what is actually left of the person who finally achieves it? What remains when that fire of revenge finally burns out?